So we can always say the absolute value of a function can be defined as f of x, where it's the absolute value of x, or the square root of x squared, if x is greater than or equal to 0, then y would look like x. If it's less than 0, it's going to look like the negative version. Now, what happens when we add in a number inside of the absolute value? Well, we can graph out these points and say if I take negative 4 minus 3, it's going to be negative 7. Negative 3 minus 3 is going to be negative 6. This is going to be negative 5, negative 4, negative 3, negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, and 2. If I take the negative of whatever that number is, then I would be solving for negative 4 minus 3, which would be negative 7. And then, because I have this negative on the outside, I'm going to flip the sign. So this would be positive 7, positive 6, positive 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, negative 1, and negative 2. And I can graph both these things out. I'm going to have my original one at negative 4 and negative 7. And that's going to start down here. And then I'm going to go negative 3, negative 6, negative 2, negative 5. And it's just going to keep going up like this. And there's my y is equal to x minus 3. I'm going to take the second one, starting at negative 4 and positive 7. And then it's going to go down to negative 3 and positive 6, negative 2 and positive 5. And this pattern is just going to keep going. And this is going to give me the y is equal to the negative bracket, x minus 3. When I do my absolute value function that is related to this, then I'm going to plot these points, subbing in negative 5, negative 4, negative 3 for x, and fill in my table. This is going to give me positive 8, positive 7, positive 6, positive 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, and then it's going to go back and be 1 and 2 again. And I see that it's going to look something like this. Once again, if I take my one graph over here, it's going to look the same as those two straight lines as long as the y values are positive. So I can write it as a piecewise function, where any time that it is greater than or equal to 3, it looks like my positive version. Anytime that is less than 3, it looks like my negative version. When it says, explain how the equation of the second piece can be determined from the equation of the first piece, the second piece in piecewise function is the first piece multiplied by -1. When it says explain algebraically without using a graph how the domain for each piece could be determined, we can say the zero of the absolute value function splits the absolute value function into two pieces. X is greater than or equal to whatever the zero is, or the root, or the x-intercept. And x is less than the x-intercept, or the zero, or the root. So, how would I do this? Well, it says that it wants us to express this function in piecewise function. So the first thing that I would do is I would solve for what the zeros would be. And I could say that in this case, 3x plus 2, what's inside here, would equal 0, just like what we've done with any of our quadratics of that. 3x would equal -2, and x would equal -2 over 3. So, f of x, which is the same as the absolute value of 3x plus 2, splits up into the two pieces. Y is equal to 3x plus 2 if x is greater than or equal to -2 over 3. Y is equal to the negative version of that, negative bracket 3x plus 2, if x is less than -2 over 3. When we get to the second one, inside of here, we can see that our x is negative. For this, we can use the same rule that we did when we were doing radicals, where if we were trying to find the restriction on a radical, if x is negative, then the sign is going to go in the opposite direction. And we can think of it like this. If 4 minus x, what this function is, when I take the absolute value of it, has to be a positive number, that's going to be greater than or equal to 0. So negative x would be greater than or equal to -4, and when I divide by a negative, the direction of the sign changes. So anytime I see a negative before the x in here, then the inequality is going to go in a different direction. And then I can state that f of x which in this case is going to be the absolute value of 4 minus x, would split into the form that it has there. Y is equal to 4 minus x if x is less than or equal to 4. Or y would equal the negative 4 minus x if x is greater than 4. As long as you remember that if x is negative, the inequality goes in the different direction for our piecewise function, you should be fine. All right, go get some practice done.